We're live. Josue's been here the whole time, and the rest of us just got here for
We
Celtics.
just got in.
Yeah. Celtics.
Thanks for waiting for us, Josue.
Who thought when the fourth quarter started that this was a win? Raise your hand. You did?
Yeah.
Of course, Bobby. Come on.
Yeah, that's every quarter for Bobby. That's every
the way I was upset.
For me, it had more to do with my distrust of the Knicks than my trust in the Celtics.
That's fair.
I just thought that this was a game that the Knicks really, really, really felt they needed to win. And because they felt that sense of urgency and they're not ready to have that type of sense of urgency, they were going to find a way to be in need of the Heimlich maneuver at some point in the fourth quarter. And they were, because they completely choked this thing away. And the Celtics, give them credit. They made the plays that they had to make. I thought Marcus Smart did a great job of facilitating.
Too late for that, Sherrod.
Too late for what?
I'm just kidding.
No, I'm serious. I mean, I think he had like one shot taken going into the fourth or something like that. He was clearly looking to get other guys involved, and Tatum stepped up. Jaylen Brown did what Jaylen Brown tends to do, and our fifth starter, Romeo Langford, he had some nice plays down the stretch too. Good rebound. This was a good win for them. Not a great win. I thought it was a good win. It wasn't a great, well-played game, but I thought it was a good win that they needed.
Bad game, good win. And Smart was 1 for 7 entering the fourth, and then took that bad three on those back-to-back possessions where Tatum turned it over again, and Smart took that bad three. I was like, oh, goodness. And then he knocks down the two, obviously. Real quick before we get into the real meat of it here again, Celtics post-game show, we got Sherrod Blakely, Jimmy Toscano, Bobby Manning, and Josue Pavone. And, of course, we are presented by Locker Room, okay? This is night 2. And, again, I'm going to tell you guys about this throughout the night, but we are sponsored by Locker Room. If you haven't already, download the Locker Room app at the iOS store. Go to joinlockerroom.com. And basically what this is, it's a free audio platform where we just talk sports. And what happens is we go in that room, you come in the room with us, and we talk with you. We put you up on the platform. You get to ask us questions. You get to give us shit. Anything you disagree with, we want to hear it. Anything you want to talk about the game, any big picture Celtics stuff, we're here for you. We're going to do this near the tail end of this show. And we're going to head over there, kind of trickle in over, a couple people at a time and hang out with you guys. We did it last night. We had over 100 people in the room hanging out. I expect more tonight, so come on over. If you haven't already, as I said, download the app and get started. As for the game, guys, again, good win. Do we want to spend the whole time talking about Tristan Thompson or just part of the time talking about Tristan Thompson? Because this is what Bobby's here for.
I'm glad Sherrod started off with Smart because he was the biggest reason they won this game, I thought.
All
the possessions he stole. This was a possession ball game. And it came down to offensive rebounding, steals, stops, and the few breakouts that the Celtics were able to get in that second half. And the Knicks, when you saw they try to turn up the pace in the third quarter too, that's not where they're exactly comfortable, but it's the only place they could find offense. And fortunately for the Celtics too, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown were able to produce offense out of the half court along with Smart. And that was the other difference in this game, I thought. They were just a more offensively adept team. And the Knicks, man, their offense is as bad as it gets. Like, I can see why they're 30th in this league in offense because they have no creators. It's just a bunch of shooting when they can look for those and bang down low. And hopefully Randle has a big game, and he did not tonight. But this is the kind of defensive intensity I've been looking for from the Celtics all year, and it started with Smart. Like, from the earliest portions of this game, very early in that second quarter, there was a nice Knicks run. They went on a timeout, and he came out and stopped about 3 plays in a row, took that energy into the second half, and then hit the biggest shot of the night at 93-93. So his defensive consistency has been awesome this last week or so, ever since our big exchange with him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, was a big difference maker down the stretch. I mean, whether it was that big 3-pointer, the fact that he was wide open and was willing to take that shot and confident enough to take that shot. I mean, he didn't think twice, obviously, but I mean, the way the ball was being moved around, that final stretch, those final possessions, the Celtics really, they didn't look like they were forcing the issue. They looked like they were a cohesive unit, for that final 5 minutes. And it was like everyone trusted each other. And I love that. I mean, look, Jaylen Brown got going. Obviously, he was cooking. Jayson Tatum, 7 turnovers. I mean, he didn't get down on himself. He didn't force the issue. He starts swinging the ball, and great things happen, obviously. But again, Smart leading the way on the opposite end. I mean, on both ends, but specifically, I think it was the attitude and the effort that I saw down the stretch from everyone. But it was Marcus Smart who was the anchor of that for sure.
Look, and again, for sure, but we got to be real about it. And even Scal said it on the broadcast. They've been in these situations before. No, they've been in these situations before, and Smart's taken shots late, 3-pointers, and they've been good looks, but none of them have gone in. His late game shooting percentages are very, very, very low. Tonight they both went in, so yes, this is a hats off, those shots fell sort of game. And thankfully they came away with a win because they absolutely had to have them. They needed every bucket they got tonight. I still have to tip
this one bad.
I still have to tip the hat to Jaylen because when everything was going wrong, he's the only thing going right. So fine. Marcus, like I said, you're right. Defensive, they needed some defensive intensity tonight because the offense was real weak. And so they had to kind of hold them in check a little bit, and they did that. But when they looked, their offense looked so out of sorts all night long. And thank God Jaylen had one of his Jaylen games where stuff was falling. He was aggressive. He was attacking. The mid-range was going. He was knocking it down without him tonight. And Tatum's just whipping the ball all over the place. He was a mess for the first 3 quarters. 7 turnovers after 3, had an 8th turnover early in the 4th. So, Jaylen, I think, kept them afloat here until the end of the game where they started to execute and they got more contributions from more people.
Yeah, and I got my 3 stars to this game in order. I'm giving my first star, believe it or not, to Tristan Thompson. I'm giving my second one to Jaylen Brown for all the reasons John just stole from me. And then Marcus Smart does get my 3rd star because, he was he was the guy who kind of saved them in the end there. I mean, obviously it was Jaylen Brown kind of keeping them steady. And I mean, Jaylen Brown it's tough knowing what you're going to get from him every night. I mean, 10 shots last night, 26 tonight, and he, sort of like took control. And that's kind of what we talk about with Jaylen Brown. It's like some nights he just looks disengaged. It's almost like he's like upset that he's not a bigger part of the offense, and then just, it's fine, you guys do it, and tonight it was complete opposite. It almost, he sort of took control and took the reins, and like John said, he sort of paced them throughout the game, which they needed. And Tristan Thompson, credit to him. I forgot what this guy even looked like, and he came back out in the court ready to go. I mean, a lot of guys after a layoff of that long might look, out of sorts or, winded, and I'm not saying he wasn't, but he gave them what they need. He gave them that presence down low, whether it was offensive rebounding, that putback dunk. I didn't think I'd ever see that from him.
How about the stretch where he got to the free throw line like 3 times in a row? That seemed to drive New York crazy.
And then that last 24, you got right there.
That, Bobby? I'm shocked you're going to give him
I mean, that stretch in the second quarter, and then that first stint, as Bobby rightfully was saying during our little text thread, saved the game. Like that stint kept them afloat there because everything was going badly. And that second unit, I thought, played much better. I don't want to detract from what the second unit did, but by contrast, the first unit was so friggin' abysmal. This is like almost like Carson Edwards starting level of head scratcher with Brad. And we were geeked up. I was geeked up prior to see Romeo's name in there. It was pretty obvious early on that starting lineup was amazing.
John was ready for all of us to apologize.
Offensively, that lineup was so bad, and then they came back with it in the third quarter. And I was like, and again, I never understand that. When Brad does something like that, he's done it recently with the Mo Wagner situation, and he did it obviously with Carson earlier in the year. But then to come back to start the second half with the same mistake, like that, it was clear those guys, that wasn't working, right? Like that was an ill-fitting lineup. The offense was completely disjointed. You have Rob there, who's obviously not going to shoot. Romeo doesn't know where to stand yet, so he's kind of all over the place. He doesn't know how to play off these guys at all. And you could see it just looked like Keystone Cops out there with those guys with that offense.
Like Keystone Cops? I don't even know what that means.
It's an old school reference.
John and his references.
Boomers like Sherrod know.
Keystone Cops.
Is Benny?
You got
Benny
that one,
Hill any
Sherrod?
better?
Let me get out the Boomosaurus over here.
I'll make sure we put the cookies on the bottom shelf. Things were not looking smooth and steady. It was chaotic, Jimmy. How's that?
Thank you. That's for everybody listening too, because I guarantee you, Keystone Cops had them searching through the Google.
Google, what's that?
Yeah, exactly. Ask G.
Ask G.
We get the Boomer War.
Yeah.
Boomersaurus
can stand out.
You know what? I mean, we're going to spend probably an inordinate amount of time talking about all they did, but let's be real. This Knicks is at best a 500 team. This is what they're supposed to do. And I'm looking forward to them getting to the point where we can look at these games and look at them as an afterthought and get geeked about them playing teams like Denver, teams like Phoenix, teams that, frankly, if they were to beat them, that will be seen as significant progress. This was a good win because they needed to beat someone that, if we're being honest, is on their level right now. But I'm not going to get excited about this team until they start beating teams that are in that top tier, the tier that we thought they should be in.
Right. You won't be getting excited.
That's fair. Absolutely. I think that's why going into the fourth quarter, I wasn't feeling confident about them winning, but at the same time, I was thinking, even if they do win it, I'm not going to be that impressed. This is the same story we've been seeing. And you know what? The New York Knicks are one of the teams that leads the NBA and blowing leads down the stretch, or at least when games are close down the stretch, they blow it when it matters the most. But the Celtics stuck with it, and what impressed me the most, though, or at least one of the things that really stood out, was the offensive rebounding, the second chance opportunities. What they get, 20 second chance points. You got 16 offensive rebounds. You got 9 between Romeo Langford and Robert Williams. I mean, Robert's supposed to do that, but Romeo, I mean, listen, for someone who, before that three-pointer, which I think obviously helped him refocus because he was completely lost out there before that happened, credit him for sticking his head in the game and sticking with it and grabbing those offensive rebounds, because let's face it, a few months ago, Romeo may have checked out. Maybe last year, or maybe rookie Romeo wouldn't have been able to stay focused there and grab those offensive rebounds, hit that three-pointer, and, of course, play some defense down the stretch for the Celtics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give them the credit because we're bashing them if they lose this game. Like they lost to the Knicks, blah, 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 all this stuff. So I understand where you guys are coming from. It is the Knicks after all, and the Knicks are always going to be the Knicks, even if they are slightly better than we've seen. I hope someday the Knicks can be a great team in this league, because it's just fun when the Knicks are great. But besides the point, I'll give the Celtics credit for putting together a strong fourth quarter, because they're one of the worst fourth quarter teams all year long. So it's a breath of fresh air to see them actually be the team to make a little bit of the comeback there and close them out. And credit the Knicks, they fought to the very last shot, but the Celtics took care of business on their end. So I'll give them credit. Thompson we're looking at his line. It's a very Tristan Thompson-esque line. I mean, he's in mid-season form. But it was good to have that, extra big body out there. And, speaking of, our good friend Rob might be broken. I don't know.
Oh no.
Oh no, don't start that.
He looked like 2019, Rob.
He looks like he's still seeing the ghost of Joel Embiid out there, man.
Poor Joel.
Now it's out there. See, look what you did.
They finished with Grant on the floor.
Ooh,
if this keeps going,
Tristan will be starting very soon at this. It doesn't take much.
Joel might have broke him.
Yeah, broke his spirits for sure.
Oh, poor guy.
Rob had 10 rebounds in 24 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't play a great game tonight, but it's not like he was out there literally just kind of twiddling his fingers.
At least he played. Crap. At least he actually got in the court for 25.
It also flying the same way he used to, though, Sherrod. Remember,
he was minus 21
all over the place.
Listen, by no means am I putting my chips on this was the Rob Williams moment to put your pom-poms out for. No, but he didn't suck. And this is what's going to happen when a guy gets his first opportunity to be that man in the middle. He's going to be like the Dow Jones average. Some days he's going to be ridiculously high, and then reality's going to set it. He's going to suck.
We know that.
Do you guys understand?
We know about Rob's
in the game, guys.
You do understand what the Dow Jones.
We got the Dow Jones, yeah.
Dude, I created Rob's.
It's been around a while.
Give him credit for staying in the game, right? Only
people
2
are
fouls.
also making Star Wars references for Josue. You guys know what Star Wars is, right? They're calling him a Sith Lord. Do you guys know what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Star Wars is
got a few of them.
Dorks, but yeah.
Star Wars is, come on, that's a bunch of generations. You know Star Wars.
Yeah, nerds from many generations know what Star Wars is.
Yeah, exactly. No, but the Rob thing is this. It's some people in the chat are saying he looks tired. To me, you're right. It looked like it's back-to-back, rough games for him, in the sense that tonight was one of those games where just every second he was on the floor, the Knicks hit every shot and the Celtics hit none. And then, no joke, he leaves, Tristan comes in, 10-0 run. All of a sudden, Tristan Thompson's plus minus is plus 20. Rob and Romeo come back in, boom, ice cold. Knicks. And again, it was just that offense when those guys were on the floor was so bad tonight. I think that obviously kind of really hurt the numbers. They just looked all out of sorts. They couldn't involve him in the play at all. So you didn't get to see any of the things that Rob does well in the game. So it was just a really rough overall night for Rob. I don't think he's necessarily broken, but you did want to see a bounce. You did want to see a bounce back after the Embiid game, and this was not it. And in fact, what's going to happen is you're going to have the Tristanistas out there, Bobby Manning and his pom-poms, waving for him to start from now on. And so now this is going to be a discussion.
There's a case.
Yeah, there it is.
There's a case.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Of course.
So let's forget about the 44 games that Rob played, the 50 games that Rob played better, and let's just focus on the 7 minutes in the second quarter that Tristan was good tonight.
Rob was putting up absurd margins with the bench. We were seeing like plus over 20 per 100, nice cohesion with Pritchard. Again, this is about rotations. I think that's why you say Brad sticks with what he did in that first half compared to the second half, because tonight, again, the second unit was the one getting it done. So they were killing the Knicks second unit. They were keeping those rotations in place and ultimately ended up working out here. We'll see. I don't think it matters either way because they're both going to get minutes. You want to put them both in the position where they're going to succeed most. And, Thompson looked pretty good with that second unit here too. So I don't think, again, there's a lot of allure and luster with starting, and it seems to be like the upper hand of who the better center is on the team. But it's probably just going to keep coming down to matchups is how I look at it. Like on Friday against Karl Anthony Towns, you're going to start Robbie, you're going to start Thompson. I might start Thompson in that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think going into this week, teams are starting to obviously Rob is starting to make scouting reports at this point, and I think he just has to adjust and just start being more aggressive and get used to the fact that teams are hip. Teams around the NBA are hip, especially these last couple of matchups. The New York Knicks, you can see what Randle was doing. Obviously, we saw what Joel Embiid did last night. Back-to-back nights. It's just tough for him to adjust. I think teams are starting to, he's starting to make into teams' game plan. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the end, right? I don't think this is that Brad should, in a couple of games, decide, you know what, it's time for Thompson to become my starter all of a sudden. I think he still has to work his way back a bit. I mean, but he did look good. I give you that, Bobby, for sure. Tristan Thompson. In the beginning, I thought he was a little sloppy out there. I wasn't quite sure what we're going to see by the end of the night, but he certainly turned it around.
Honestly, I would just release Rob at this point.
Yeah.
No, I mean the case for Rob is he keeps.
No, I don't think he should play at all. Real quick, I want to tell everybody again about Sherrod.
There's somebody out there thinking I can't believe what is he saying?
Bobby only deals with extremes. Either you make a trade or
someone didn't get your sarcasm there. Someone
right. There's someone who doesn't get that.
They should know by now.
Well, it's the Bobby extreme meter. Either you trade for somebody at the deadline, or you blow it up. Or you blow it up. You blow it up. Real quick, want to tell you guys one more time. I said I'm going to remind you a couple times throughout the night. Our sponsor, Locker Room. Download the app at the iOS store and join us for a chat after the game. This is an audio platform, sports only. What happens is we're going to take the post-game show. It's going to be post-game show overtime. We take it over to Locker Room, and we're going to continue. And we're going to invite you guys on to chat. That's one of the cool things about it. You get to come on and share your opinions with us. Tell Bobby that he's right and that Tristan is God and he's the best, and that Rob needs to be benched. And absolutely.
Again.
I was just thinking it's actually a great place to go if you're really pissed off at something we said and you just want to yell at us about something. You gotta wait until the locker room to get it in.
So
Jimmy, you are all over the map because yesterday you were like Mr. Bouncer. Don't let them in if they don't want to do this.
You're like,
just don't be mad at me. No, you can yell at Bobby. Why would you disagree with me anyways?
Oh, you were like,
dude. Jimmy's that dude, just yeah, man, I got you, man. I'll see you in the club. See you in the club. Hey, man.
I got your back.
Do not let that guy in. Do not see that guy.
I'll see you in there, bro. I'll see you in there. Yeah.
That guy's not on the list.
I got the VIP up. Do not let him come back here.
Well, the thing is everybody was such a sweetheart yesterday, and we liked that, and that was actually really cool to hear from a lot of people who we see in the chats all the time. But yeah, I mean, you can rough us up a little bit. Bring it. Bring some of your takes. Bring some of the noise. Tell us what you Tell us what you disagree with, and by all means, come in there, challenge us, talk to us, keep it respectful. But we want to hear from you. As I said, we're going to head over there, kind of near the tail end of this show, and try to pull some of you with us as we wrap up this other version, and then everyone else is going to kind of trickle over, and we'll hang out with you guys for a little bit afterwards. So let's keep moving on. Sherrod, anything else standing out for you tonight?
Yeah, the fact that the ball touched the paint early and often, I thought that was huge. The fact that they still took a decent number of threes, but at least it seemed like a conscious effort to get the ball in the post, whether it was dribble, drive, look to finish, dribble, drive, and kick, but just making sure that ball touched the paint. And everything seems to open up when they do that. I don't know why they don't do that more consistently, particularly when you have guys like Jaylen Brown and Tatum who have the ability to get to the rim a lot. And that puts them in a position of being a playmaker. They're not going to be James Harden, but there are some things that James Harden does that I would love to see them do more of, which is attack defenses and force them to react to what you're doing. And then you either look to shoot, look to dish, or look to reset. But you are forcing them to be in a reactive mode, and you're being the aggressor. You're being the proactive one. I thought that was really key to them setting the tone and finishing with, I think they were like plus 10 or something like that in points in the paint, something like that. But those are kind of things that you've got to do if you're going to be a team that's going to have a shot at having some type of success come playoff time.
All right, can I say a couple things?
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Jaylen Brown, just with a comment right now. Sometimes the comments we get from you guys in the media, it makes us less open to talk or let things get to us that honestly aren't that big of a deal. Interesting.
No comment. I can't. These guys are in their feelings apparently.
Holy wow, guys. Yeah. Anyway, Jimmy, what was your?
Makes them less right. That's good. No, less open to talk.
Less open to talk, but also
More
he's
focused?
basically saying we allow it to affect us. Which is strange to me.
Please, just. Anyways, yeah, that is strange. I mean, it's
not us. That one's not us.
Couple things I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
First thing about Tristan, circling back to Tristan Thompson for a second. He looked pretty good tonight. We could all agree, right?
Yeah. Tonight.
Could he have not suited up last night against the freaking Sixers, against Joel Embiid, when they needed all hands on deck, especially when Embiid's drawing fouls at an absolutely alarming rate? I mean, Tristan Thompson couldn't go last night, but he was able to perform the way he was tonight. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it wasn't like COVID kept him out last night. It was just, conditioning, right? I mean, he was cleared to play. Am I right or am I right?
Well,
he was in the reconditioning.
Jimmy, am I right or am I right? What the hell kind of?
He was in the reconditioning. Yeah.
My point is, COVID didn't keep him out of last night's game, right? Like he had been cleared to play, so it was the Celtics. It was Celtics' choice to not play him. Is that accurate?
See, I don't have a problem with them not playing him in that game if he wasn't in the right condition, because you're just getting him back. Why would you put him in a situation where you could potentially lose him again and for an even longer period of time if he's not ready to come back and play?
No, I agree, but I'm just saying
against Embiid.
Right.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, how much more conditioned could he be in like less than 24 hours?
In 24 hours, yeah. No, it's strange. It's strange. I don't get that really.
I just feel like they could have probably used him last night. I mean, especially based on the fact that Rob couldn't stay on the court, and then you had Taco playing like serious minutes, and Cornette, and I mean Thompson's
for sure.
They
need him tonight too, though.
Did we see either of those guys tonight?
We didn't see Taco. No. I know that.
No. Cornette or Wagner?
No, no Taco, no Cornette.
Anyways, that's just something
I'm okay with that though.
It's just something I thought of. All right, if you're okay with it, then that's fine. I mean,
they're not.
Not saying any Taco and any Cornette. I'm okay with that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. They needed two centers in this game. That was fine.
And the other thing I was going to bring up before John mentioned the Jaylen quote was that, I mean, I was actually just going to commend, Jaylen's performance tonight, because we get a lot of shit on this show for not, I guess, bringing up Jaylen sometimes when, he puts together good performances. And you give him his due. I mean, I thought he really stepped up tonight. And that's after, and this is another thing, Jaylen Brown said that thing about the media. He might be talking about maybe the national media, because over the last 24 hours, we heard from
Yep.
Shaq, we heard from Dwayne Wade, we heard from Kendrick Perkins,
Yep.
all calling out these guys, in a very public,
No heart, no identity, all of it. Yep.
no, yeah, all those things, and maybe that's what he's referring to. But I thought that sure, I thought Jaylen Brown showed that maybe that did get to him in a way where they're thinking about it.
Here's the thing about Jaylen, though.
Jaylen continued. I just want to read one more quote before you go.
Okay.
More on this topic. He said he met with Jayson Tatum before the game, after that Sixers loss. We almost had to just forget about everything. Let's come out, play basketball, be aggressive, be the best version of ourselves. There you go, Sherrod.
You didn't say that. Shut up.
I swear, I'm reading it right out of the friggin' best version of ourselves.
You know what? You know what that is actually? They do listen to Brad Stevens. Look at that.
Look at that.
They got his lingo down. That's good.
Sherrod,
that's on the whiteboard. That's on the whiteboard when you walk in the locker room.
But they're hearing it, right? So
it's like pace and space, way back when.
Right. And I guess the thing about Jaylen is that the reason why most of us don't talk as much about him this year is he's been so ridiculously consistently good that him going out and getting 27, 28 points, whether they win or lose, he kind of does that these days. But again, when they win, you recognize, wow, he scored a lot of points down the stretch. And when they lose, you're looking at his box score, and it's kind of the same. And so Jaylen, it's just, I don't think he sees it that way, but it's a sign of respect when you're going out there getting 26, 27 points, and it's not that big a deal. You've got to the point where you become that reliable statistically to your team. Whereas if, let's say, Tristan Thompson goes out and gets 18 and 9, we're talking a hell of a lot about Tristan Thompson because that's a big deal.
Can I say one? Go ahead, Josue. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say real quick. I think that's true. That's a good point, Sherrod. But I also feel like there's a lot of times where win or lose, I mean, his performances, they kind of fly under the radar, right? It's like, oh, well, Kemba had a cold night if they lost. What's going on there? Or Tatum didn't get enough touches down the stretch, And for the most part, and Jaylen's been doing this for a couple seasons now, he's been the most efficient guy out there, and even when his touches, throughout the last couple of years, even though as they have increased, his efficiency hasn't changed. He's still hovering around 50% from the floor, not too far from from the arc from that percentage. So, I mean, I'm with you in a sense, but I feel like this is sort of that game where people will talk more. Okay, you see how Jaylen stepped up big, there. And the other night he had 5 3-pointers.
It's the consistency, though.
I think Jaylen deserves a little more credit sometimes, and tonight was a perfect example of that.
He's the MVP of this team this year, Jaylen Brown. He is their MVP.
Can I say one thing?
But they're a 500 team.
No, but that's the point. And so
every team is MVP. Come on, Jimmy.
But no, it's going back to fine. Performance is fine, okay? And absolutely he's been good and right. He has the start to his season, he was clearly their best player. Then whether it's knees or just kind of came back down to earth with the mid-range stuff, which was, like I said, unsustainably hot clip earlier in the year. But this is my beef when it comes to complaining about negativity in the media. You're a team with 2 superstar players that's below 500 that just got above 500. Absolutely deserve every bit of criticism being thrown your way. You are not beyond reproach. I know it's roster stuff too, and it's not on Tatum and Brown, but the point is you have to be better. Problem. You have to be better. You have to make people better. And even if not, you just have to sit there and say, they're right. We're a 500 freaking team, and that's unacceptable.
Well, they've been saying that all year, and they've been taking responsibility.
But then don't say negativity and the negativity. That's not negativity. It's honesty, okay?
It's Rick Pitino stuff.
It's not negativity. Negativity is when you take a team that's 15 games over 500, poke holes in them, and try to make an issue out of nothing. This is honesty. The honesty is they've been dreadful. They've been really bad and inconsistent most of the year. They cannot beat good teams, and that's a fact of the matter at this point.
That's not true at all.
It's actually
what's not
absolutely 100% true. There's
I think what's frustrating these guys.
True. Yeah.
I think what's frustrating these guys, especially locally, is this notion that it's an all-out failure because they've slipped up a little bit this year and they've gone through the COVID stuff that we've talked about and, had losses and had inconsistency and, of course, a massive loss in Hayward. Like, there's a ton of context here that hasn't been taken into approach, and it's creeped up to the top where people are wondering, can Tatum and Brown play together? Are they selfish? Are they good enough to lead this team? When these two guys, I keep saying it all year, have proven it in past years. They've taken this team deep into the playoffs. They've made themselves better passers, and they're the ones getting the blame for largely what's been issues with rest of the roster. Like, again, as Sherrod said,
who got the blame for Philly last year? Who got the blame? Who got the blame for Philly last year?
But they were legitimately bad in a normal year.
Who got the blame? Who got the blame? The side guys or Embiid and Simmons and discussions about whether they could play together. The stars get the blame. I'm sorry. That's what happens.
You can't have it both ways. You can't get the praise when everything is great and be absolved of blame when things don't. It goes both ways. This team has been to conference finals 3 of the last 4 years, in large part because of what Tatum and Brown have been able to do. They deserve that credit. This team is a 500 squad. Guess what? The same guys who kind of got you to the finals 3 of the last 4 years, they are also part of what's not working well right now. You can't absolve them totally from that. Are they the ones to blame? Absolutely not. Are they part of what needs to get better? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so when you hear that criticism, you should say they're right. Right now, we're not playing that well. We could be better. Jayson Tatum turned the ball over 8 freaking times tonight. Last night, he was pouting and sulking and shrugging his shoulders. That's why he drew criticism. If you don't want criticism, don't do that or own it, but I hate the whole the negativity is getting us down. You know what doesn't get you down? Playing better. Then there will be no negativity. People will sing your praises. This town, people friggin' love people can't wait to say awesome things about these guys, the young stars. Right. There's a favorable outlook of this team. Most people want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Nobody wants to say negative things.
Yeah, but this goes back to what we were talking about yesterday. John, though,
they haven't seen this side of Boston, right? I mean, they have to understand with the
but
Kyrie
people want to
season,
love them. Yeah,
but they don't understand that it goes both ways. Like when this city is fed up, or when these fans get to a certain point where they're like, wait a minute, when is this team going to get out of that 500 hole? And I think that's when they reach that point. Against that Philadelphia series, and it's not just the media; it's the fans. I think the fact that it's crossed over to the national media, I think maybe that struck a chord.
They got booed in their first game with fans.
I mean, the game was on national TV against Philly. Obviously they like to show out. Any star does, any team does, and that's when they got a lot of criticism last night.
And I understand it coming from Brown because he's been the better player of the 2 stars on this team this year.
I would agree.
He's the one who gets traded in every scenario that gets thrown around out there. So that's going to be frustrating to hear. And this is what we talked about last night. Who can you go out there and get for Brown? Which is so ridiculous because I think this team does have its core. Like, these 2 guys have proven that they can be 2 of the best players on a team. Everything around them is what's been a mess this year. Smart, his absence. Kemba, his absence. And then, of course, the bench and all the ancillary pieces at center and everything else. This has been a real, again, you can look at all this stuff and say, excuses. But I think there's been so much going on around this team this year that it really is legit excuses. So again, this doesn't absolve a lot. This doesn't.
Have those 2 been great leaders? Those 2 All-Stars?
I think they've tried their ass
off. Do they make their teammates better?
You didn't answer the question though. See, you can't even say it with vigor.
No, they haven't done a perfect job, and we've criticized them numerous times throughout this year. Tatum in particular.
Preach like that, you can't even,
Well, you're not allowed to criticize them, apparently, Bobby. You just have to say all you're allowed to say about Tatum and Brown is they're 2 young stars who are going to continue to get better and have yet to reach their ceiling, and they can't do everything. But I mean, if that's all you want to say, fine, then that's all you can say. But ultimately, you're looking at these 2 leaders of a team, whether they're still young or they're going to become better leaders, that at this moment are leading a team to a 500 record. And you would think, based off of their talents alone, they should be at least a little better,
look
even
around
given all the circumstances.
Why isn't Jimmy Butler?
Okay, let me ask Bobby this though. Okay, you talk about the other pieces. Do they need to look for a leader? Am I missing something, or do they still need to develop into leaders? So you can finally, people can feel confident to say these 2 are good leaders or great leaders, even.
No, I think that's what you do. You build around them. You bring in veterans. You don't have a bench that's all draft picks and guys who can't supplement the leadership that these 2 can provide. Because, again, at the end of the day, they're 22 and 23, and you have guys who are even younger or, in many cases, just less experienced, older, but less experienced on the bench.
That's what I just said, man.
How's Rob going to be a leader? How is Rob going to be a leader?
They can't, but see, you can't have it both ways. It can't be, oh no, they don't have enough help because and then it's also, oh no,
it's not about help.
They're too young. They're too young. Wait a minute. They're the same ones that went to the conference finals last 2 times, right? 2 out of 3 years, right? I mean, which one is it? Or is it always going to be, oh, it's the other pieces that are missing until they reach what, 25?
Well, it's not just about that either. It's the year in general too, the COVID year, and I don't think we emphasize that enough. I keep saying this to you guys, and you don't listen. Is anyone around the NBA?
Bobby, I think that's a big part of it as well. But I think you're giving these guys a pass. These two.
No, but I just want to make a comparison. Because is anyone in Miami, and I know it's a different market, different expectations, but the Heat just went to the NBA.
You just
the Heat just went to the NBA. I know, but again, if we're just looking at it as analysts of this league, shouldn't the Heat be looked at too and said, massive disappointment? This team just went to the finals and they're struggling to avoid the play-in.
Jimmy,
no one says that about the Heat.
You know why? Because they shouldn't have got to the NBA Finals last year.
Bobby,
that's why no one is coming down on them.
Bobby,
they should have been there last year.
You don't think they overachieved last year?
And you know why.
This is so easy. This is such an easy thing. Let's just put it this way. If Tatum and Brown all of a sudden start playing better, involving their teammates more, and their record soars, are we going to sit here and say Tatum and Brown have done a better job and that's why they're winning? Are we going to say that? The answer is of course we are, which means if they're not doing it now, you can say they need to do more of that. If they are going to reach a next level, it's going to be because of these guys. And when they do it, we will heap praise upon them. But since they're not doing it, we will not do that. Why is this difficult to understand? If they can get better, when they get better, we'll say so.
And they are getting better. I mean, they are getting better.
They are.
But it's not translating in what you know and I know matters most around here, and that's winning games. Right. That's why the last few years they have had just an amazing amount of praise heaped on them because they've been very successful. You look at Jayson Tatum. Has gotten a 5,000-point score faster than anyone in this storied franchise's history. So you know he's playing at an elite level. And Jaylen Brown, again, coming off his first All-Star game, the best, most consistent player on this team. So the issue to me isn't whether they can play or whether they can be good players. It always comes back to winning. And, Bobby, I know there's a ton of factors that are legit that have factored in this team not being as successful as they are. But you know what? That doesn't matter. It matters what happens when that final horn goes off, who has more points. More times than not, it hasn't been the Boston Celtics. That is what people care about. They're not going to get consumed by the fact that this team has been ravaged by the COVID, unlike any other team in the NBA. I get that. That's a big part of what the problem is this year. There's no doubt about that. But it's still, that doesn't, as long as you can put bodies out there on the court, you play to win. And when you don't, you're called out for that.
Go ahead, real quick, sometimes it's not even the result. It's the way that they play. Sometimes it's the emotion that they show or that they don't show. We've
seen this team get a standing ovation after their season ends at home in the playoffs. Where does that happen?
Right.
So
it's not. I think a lot of. I mean, listen, the record's the record, and we know all the things that have gone into it. But for me, at least, what I like to look at body language out there. I like to look at signs of leadership. I like to look at how the team is responding to adversity and, how it's, responding to bad losses. And I think we can all agree that, and I think even Brad Stevens has even said that, like, they haven't dealt well with adversity this season. And that starts at the top with your best players, your leaders of this team.
And again, there's
it's
levels
not questioning
to this.
their talent. It's more questioning whether their ability to lead.
That hero ball, not involving other teammates, style of play, all of these things, like these are all reasonable criticisms that even like kind of fair weather Celtics media is heaping on the team.
There's a difference between reasonable criticisms and do they need to trade one of these guys?
It's not again.
And what were Shaq and the like saying last night? This notion of selfishness and identity and all that's taking it too far.
Well, no, part of the quote was identity was really actually more a matter of what are they? What are the Celtics? Are they?
Shaq said there's no alpha. I think
there's no alpha, but they also said
Shaq said the alpha.
Which is just wrong.
Identity thing. Dwayne Wade said the identity.
Well, no, we said the alpha thing last night. When they get down, we talked about this last night. They get down against Philly. They're down double digits. You go in the locker room. Are they looking around and saying like, "All right, that guy's going to lead us up there. It's not. There isn't necessarily an alpha. Sometimes somebody does, but oftentimes they don't, and they're looking around the room for who's going to be the guy who steps up. It really is a matter of, I guess, whether shots are falling a lot of the times, but there isn't that guy who's always going to be like, get up. There's no cornbread here.
There's no Maxwell.
Yeah, there's no get on my back, boys.
I get that reference.
That was, and again,
that was a
Shaq,
long time ago in the 80s.
That was Shaq who said that. So take that, however you want it. But that's, Shaq's take. It's not, some people listen to Shaq a lot more than other people do. So I don't know if Jaylen Brown's referencing, the guys on TNT.
It has to be, yeah.
It's a national show.
Probably.
And it's a national show. And I know a lot of the
Perk called him out.
Watch that. What's that?
Perk called out Tatum.
Perk tweeted something last night about Tatum. He just got paid and he's playing like an underpaid player or something like that. He basically called out his energy, and I think that's something that a lot of people have noticed this year. Whether it's COVID related or not, I don't know what it is, but there's been stretches where Tatum just looks kind of out of it out there, not engaged.
What he said about him was, you get paid the big bucks, a lot comes with it. I'm one of the few that's always lobbying for Tatum. He's a special talent, offensively gifted player. That being said, type of leadership role in the court, certain type of tenacity, certain type of age, certain type of swagger you have to play with. When you look at all the other stars around the league, they compete. They don't have bad body language. They're enthusiastic. They're supporting their teammates. They're always talking to their teammates. And it's part of him, I guess, growing, but you've got to have that. So again, these are maturity issues.
That was Perk?
That was Perk on Tatum. Basically, like, you can't be sulky when you're missing. You can't walk to the sideline. Your teammates feed off that energy. I think that's fair. That's Tatum's personality. He has to really go through an extreme makeover to be a different person. It's going to be hard for him to be that fiery guy to get in your face.
We saw that.
If he's not capable of evolving into that player, then it's on Danny Ainge to get folks in the building,
to get a Butler type.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to those old New York Knicks teams when you had Patrick Ewing, who was clearly your best player, but you had Charles Oakley, who, if things got a little sideways, he was regulating stuff. He was going to make sure that physical, that toughness, that whatever the hell you want to call it, you needed to get through those tough times. You had somebody who was in that fight. Tatum,
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Tatum not ever evolving into that, because again, I want him to be authentically whoever the hell he is supposed to be. And right now, he's trending in the right direction of being one of the all-time greats, not only in Celtics history, but a Hall of Famer when you look at his numbers and the things that he can do at such an early age. And if me getting a player that will be part of his surrounding cast, who maybe isn't as talented, but has a different kind of approach and toughness and grittiness and griminess to him, hell yeah, I want that. Because that's going to make my team better and make my star player better.
I don't think
Is that possible though, Sherrod? I feel like you have to have that, right? You have to have that heart of a lion attitude, that tenacity, that rah in you a little bit, don't you? I mean, I can't think of any other significant top 10.
I think Brown does.
Minus, I don't know, Tim Duncan, I guess. So for the most part, it's rare. Though,
I think he does, but I don't think it's at the level that people want him to have it at. I think it's there. I just don't think it's going to come in the waves and bunches that people feel the best player on this team should have.
Part of it has to be a little bit of a show and some, like you have to kind of act as if a little bit, right? Like I think certain things are easy to do. Like, for example, it's the really soft mumbling press conferences where he doesn't sound like stuff like that. Walk into the court with his shoulders slumped, the little things like that. There's some things he could do just to act a little bit more poised and just a little bit command more presence, even if he's not going to get in people's face and scream at them, because that might never be a style. But there's a lot of things about his affect, that don't really scream like energy. And I think that he's got if he just changed it up a little without it, it actually is stupid when you're a guy who's not a rah guy and you start doing it. It's inauthentic. I don't know that it necessarily
and people
works.
See right through it,
and they see through it. I don't think he needs to be that, but I do wonder. When I mentioned like a Jimmy Butler type, does somebody need to just say, okay, like say you're Brown and you know you're every bit as talented as Tatum or could score as many points and get all that, but does it take someone like Brown saying, I'm going to change my role a tad, I'm going to be more the Jimmy Butler type, I'm going to be that guy who does a little bit of everything and tries to make other people
Tatum
better?
Needs to do,
because
frankly.
Tatum's not doing it. Because Tatum's real skill might simply be dead-eye scorer. So you wonder whether Brown is more equipped to take on him. I
actually
don't know.
think it's the opposite because Tatum gets the gravity of guys running at him, doubles, blitzes, all that stuff.
And he's a better passer. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the role he's playing on this team, top lead ball handler. And I've talked about this a million times. I thought that was one of the limiting factors for them last year was his inability to thrive as a passer from those positions. But I gave him some leeway because it was his first shot at it. Now this is round 2, and he's got to embrace that role. Like you said, that's what Butler did in Miami, just the level of gravity that the defense shows him. He can at least get it to Brown far more often. And that's what I love about this one. And the fact that they talked before this, and then you saw the backline dunk from Brown get 26 shots off of Tatum.
Yep.
This was the formula for success. Get Brown going, get Brown a ton of shots because what did we see early this year? Brown became a better scorer than Tatum because he was so open, got such great shots, and was so aggressive off of the defense, what the defense was showing Tatum, that Brown was able to become the leading scorer in the NBA for a couple of weeks. So, I mean, that's the potential of Brown if they can get him shots. And we say this every night. Brown should almost have more shots than Tatum every single game. Like tonight, 26 to 21. That's what I want to see.
I was gonna say that's tough to ask him to do that. I mean, obviously he can do a little bit of everything for you, but Jalen's gonna want his touches in the offensive end, especially if he starts failing.
He needs them.
It's interesting.
I know because they're still young. If they were,
But we talk about how good he came out in that first quarter. What happened in the second and the third? Why did he only take 2 attempts? Did he feel so out of it because Tatum was getting too many shots, or maybe he wanted his touches and he got, we talked about it a little bit last night. That fourth quarter when he finally got back into it a bit, but that the second and third he sort of disappeared, offensively. Maybe that's a part of that conversation they had last night. Maybe this is significant. Hearing what the national media had to say about them, and of course not saying any good things after that loss against Philly.
Yeah. It's Sherrod, were you about to?
No.
Oh no, I thought I jumped in. Guys, don't mind me. I'm just disappearing for a split second.
That's fine.
So carry on. Yeah. I'm my charger. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I mean, I understand where John's coming from. Like, I don't think anyone's asking Jayson Tatum to be somebody that he isn't, but I think it would benefit Jayson Tatum a lot to be a little bit less. Down. It almost feels like he's the type of guy. Like sometimes I've seen him like make a really great move to the basket, finish, score, and then he's like upset because he didn't get the foul call. And it's like, what if instead you were fired up about that, and then your team was fired up about that, and then you guys that translates to a defensive stop on the other end instead of arguing about not getting the call or being upset about not getting the call. That's an example that I've seen recently in the last, not saying tonight, but over the last couple of weeks. I've seen that happen on a number of occasions. He'll go up for a dunk even, and it's a great play, but he's more concerned about why he didn't get the call. And maybe he should have got the call, but how about feed off some positive energy, get the team going that way? And who better than Marcus Smart to be able to give that type of energy to those guys? And even he doesn't seem to be able to get through to them sometimes.
Sherrod, let me ask you, is that, we've talked about it different times during the year with Smart being that guy. Does Smart have the authority in that locker room to be able to walk up to Jayson Tatum and just not grab him, we're not talking violently, but just to have a straight talk with him and be like, dude, cut the shit. It's important for you to be a certain way. The team needs it. You gotta quit the bitching to the refs.
We saw him did it, didn't we?
He has the cachet to do that, but the thing that we're kind of losing sight of is the fact that Tatum has a very distinct personality and how he carries himself. And Marcus and the leaders on that team, they know how he is. And do you really want to try to change him into something that he's not? Because we talked about this earlier. You want him to be as authentic Jayson Tatum as he can be. And the authentic Jayson Tatum that we see now can still go out there and get you 25 points every single night.
But are they worried he's fragile?
If you're asking him or expecting him to be a different type of person emotionally as far as his engagement, I'm not sure that that's something that you can push on him to do. I think that's something that has to happen organically. I think at some point he's going to get there, and it's going to come at a time of his choosing.
But not even that. More like you think he couldn't handle a simple talking to, like what Jimmy said, like, hey man, cool it on the ref stuff. It's bringing us down a bit because we see
the ref thing's tricky because they all believe in it.
we see our leader sulking and pouting. We just want you. I want you to put your head down, run back, and play defense because we want to follow your lead, man.
Right.
You know?
I can't see that happening because I don't think they buy that. I mean, they listen. Players are not going to tell
or just be smart enough to say it's not going to
never going to happen.
They're gonna say, "I agree. That ref was on some BS."
I agree with you. Yeah, exactly. I was like, they screwed you just the way they screwed me.
But I mean tactics. We're talking tactics here. It's not good business to do that because you're not getting the calls you deserve. Tatum, you're a star, man, and you're killing yourself. You're not getting the calls you deserve. Then you're slacking back on D, and we're getting beat on them going the other way in transition. Right. Like it's bad everywhere.
Maybe no problem, John.
I just think it's just going to take Tatum time to just kind of grow into being that all around complete.
It's a problem on both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to say it too because I hate talking about fans and all that stuff, but maybe not having fans has an effect on, these guys can't get maybe fired up after a big dunk or something like that the same way because let's be honest, like the TD Garden fans can, get you fired up pretty quickly. It doesn't take much. So maybe that's an aspect of these guys. And it could be throughout the NBA, maybe at points like players maybe can't get themselves as, motivated in the positive direction after a stretch of plays to get each other going. They should be able to. I mean, it should only take, your teammates to be able to get you going. So I think that's why a lot of people have noticed that there are, times and stretches throughout the course of the season where whether it's Tatum or Brown or whoever, it just almost feels like they're not engaged enough to get each other going.
You're right about the ref stuff, John. This team is obsessed with it. And you saw it creep down to Daniel Tice and even lower tier guys on the roster who were feeling like they were just getting screwed day in and day out by the refs. And you see it from Tatum visually. You hear Smart talk about it. Jaylen as well. Like everybody across this roster is always thinking about the calls, the refs. And it goes back to the low free throw rate.
Everybody, like Grant is doing it. It's infectious,
Yeah, and it's not good. It's something that everybody in the league does. And I think that's a mentality of players across the league. But they seem to take it to a new level. And that does start with Tatum. Tatum does it every time.
You're right. It is a LeBron thing. They see LeBron do it, and they're like, "I want to be like LeBron," and then they just
all these players now grew up watching LeBron. So.
They start their whole
and you know what? At some point, you start benefiting from it. Like you do kind of get some. You get some benefit of the doubt if you look at how LeBron's benefited from that over the years. Now, not everyone's going to get the LeBron treatment, but I think everyone's aiming to get that.
No one is going to get the LeBron treatment. We've seen that movie over and over and over again. No one is going to get those type of calls.
Except Embiid.
Except Embiid, yeah. I mean, Brown tonight, one of the last, borderline breakaway drive he had towards the end of the game, it looked like he could have easily gotten called for a foul that went in, and he was screaming and one, and that was a call that, I mean, if they call the foul there, no one's arguing that. There was a ton of contact, but these guys don't seem to get those calls.
Yeah. Refs aside, look, this whole conversation began about the idea of whether or not they're beyond any form of criticism. I mean, look, if they didn't hit the shots down the stretch here, the story of this game would have been Jayson Tatum turned the ball over 8 times and the Stars had another, they couldn't carry them over the crappy Knicks, over the 500 Knicks team as well. So again, it's just, as Sherrod said, these are mediocre teams that they're trying to sneak their way past. And these stars on their own should be good enough to do it, whether Fournier is in the lineup, whether Kemba's in the lineup. And that was a hallmark of these teams in the past, is being able to overcome one guy down, 2 guys down, and be able to win. And they're not able to this year. And that's what I think's been frustrating. There are too many bad games against really, low caliber opponents. So yeah, they've got to take it to another level if they're going to get there. I want to tell everybody again before we, kind of start to wrap this show again. Locker Room, okay? This is our new sponsor. If you guys have been there already or you've already downloaded this app, great. If you haven't, download it now. We are going to be opening up a room momentarily, and Sherrod and I are going to head over and we're going to field some of your questions, and you can jump on there and chat with us. So again, download it, iOS store, Locker Room app, create a profile, sync it to your Twitter, invite all your friends. You guys get to go in there and you get to chat with us. And we'll take your questions. You can tell us why our takes are terrible. You can tell Sherrod why he's the GOAT, because a lot of people here in the chat obviously think so. I think Jimmy's going to come over a bit. Joe Sway. Bobby says he's not, but honestly, I think he's playing hard to get. He'll probably be there too. Once
if I'm invited, I'll be there.
Yeah.
You said that yesterday. You were there.
Once the chatter, and not only that, he'll be banging on the door. Let me in, you know.
Cut his mic off, yo.
Again,
I'll be trying to sneak around Jimmy.
The bouncer.
Bobby's
Jimmy the
never been in
bouncer.
a locker room. I don't think Bobby's been in a locker room before. So
there's a lot of guys here that are. Bobby's been in the locker room.
Damn.
No, I mean, as a player, as an athlete.
Yeah, don't piss off Jimmy. He'll
damn.
Wow.
Oh, we've all been in the Celtics locker room, but
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But we're the team now, so it's a little different.
Yeah, I know.
We're going into our locker room, so it's different.
Into our locker room.
This is our locker room. Yeah.
This is the after hours party.
Way too long to explain this, man.
It's the after hours party. This is where we're going.
Overtime.
It
might get explicit over there.
I'm stalling because Nick's supposed to pin the link here. So someone's.
Oh God!
You
We're here all night.
Yo.
Yeah. So we are.
You need to make a drink while we wait for Nick.
Yeah, you might have some time.
Don't tempt me.
Because I got a couple of adult beverages.
Maybe Friday night. Maybe Friday night we'll crack.
After the Timber Pups game.
Yeah,
after the Timber Pups. Yeah,
we'll crack one open for some locker room talk.
We might need to do that. We might need to do that.
My guy Karl Anthony Towns coming into town, about to drop 35 on Bobby's head.
You act like Bobby's out there playing center. Come on now.
Oh, good. Jermaine downloading the app. Guys, I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes. Download the app while we spin our wheels here and talk about absolutely nothing.
Why do I feel like Cat might get some cheers? You know, like the whole Hayward thing. Remember when Jay Crowder said what he said, and people.
Jimmy will be cheering.
I also remember Jay Crowder had like the best game of that freaking season that night too.
He did. He was feeling himself, you know.
And the thing I loved about Jay after the game was he was straight up like, yeah, I didn't like them cheering for him, and yes, it motivated me to go out there and bust his ass, and he did. I respect that.
Yep.
I respect that.
But why did people get mad
absolutely.
about that? They're like, yeah, of course he didn't like hearing Celtics fans cheer for the other team. Like, why is that news? Why was that shocking?
It bothered him because he knew what that was about. He knew that they were cheering.
Why did it bother Celtics fans that Jay Crowder, said what he said? It was like Jay's not supposed to like that. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know why.
Because the fans wanted Hayward.
Right, but you don't cheer for the guy until he's on your team, though. Like,
I agreed with Jay at the time. I couldn't stand that.
No, I love the way Jay handled that. I loved it.
That's sums him up perfectly, though. He's definitely a guy that can. You want to talk about a guy who plays motivated all the time? That's Jay Crowder, and that was those years on those teams. That's why fans got so attached to the players on those teams. Crowder, Evan Turner, Isaiah Thomas. I mean, you go down the line of players that they played their hearts out. And they were underrated for a few years there. Obviously, nobody was expecting much. And that's when Brad Stevens really made a name for himself, is because he was able to sort of raise the floor on that team. And I think it's obviously it's a different sort of situation now where there's high expectations, and now the team isn't meeting them, and they're wondering why there's quote unquote negativity, whether it's media
and
or
people
fans.
Want Isaiah back now.
Well, it's because
too late. He's got the 10-day.
Yeah. Hey, Isaiah Thomas. I think he had 10. That's what we can talk about for a second. Isaiah Thomas had 10 points last night for New Orleans. And how many did Teague have last night, Bobby? 15? 17? Jeff Teague has 17 points for the Milwaukee Bucks, but he couldn't crack the rotation here in Boston, apparently.
John, come on, Jimmy. He got a second chance here to make a deep playoff run. He's not gonna mess this one up.
Nah, he's good.
It's just crazy that the Celtics literally they had to get rid of him, and he goes to a contender, and it looks like he's gonna be, part of that run they're gonna make.
It's tricky how they did that cap management with the Bulls because they did have to get under the tax. I think a lot of people weren't crazy about how they did it, though. Dumping Tice, who they needed. Teague. I mean, they need Teague now more than they need Mo Wagner. That's obviously apparent on a night like tonight. I mean, there's just no role for Wagner on this team. And then, Green, that was probably part of the dump as well. But they missed Teague to some degree, and they definitely missed Tice. I mean,
they missed the Teague that we saw the last couple of weeks before he got traded. They missed that Jeff Teague. They don't miss the one we saw back at the start of the season.
No, there was something off there. I don't know what was going on with Teague at the start of the season, but he was starting to come into his own, and he started to look a lot more comfortable in this whatever Stevens' system, and in the rotation there. And then he was the odd man out. I think just based strictly on the contract structure and everything like that. But it's clear that he still has plenty left to give. Again, it's not just some crappy team. We're talking about a Bucks team that has championship aspirations, and he's going out there and giving them legitimate minutes, and he's scoring for them. And we all know that the Celtics have gone through many stretches this season where they've desperately needed some scoring off the bench. So that could be one that comes back to bite them. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Tice, obviously, we know Tice was an important part of this team. That's not surprising that they're going to miss him. But Teague was one that was kind of right on the edge there.
I don't agree with that, Jimmy, because again, if you're talking about the last couple of weeks, absolutely spot on. But I can't lock in because you gave me 2 good weeks when I had you all year, and it wasn't as if you were coming off an injury or you were learning this radically different system that you weren't used to, and you were kind of new to the league, and your basketball IQ wasn't up to stuff. No, this is a vet. This dude was a former All-Star. He should have been able to hit the ground running. And he didn't. And you knew that with Kemba and his situation, he would get more opportunities early on to play than later. He should have been like, shit, I'm about to knock this out. I'm going to be that dude. I'm going to be All-Star Jeff.
His start was horrible on this team. I mean, everybody was saying how bad it was. But in that same token, for all the reasons you just said of why he should have came out better, couldn't you have maybe said, well, this guy still has this in him. I don't think he's completely lost it. I think there's still something there, and he can still help our team. Brad Stevens has been a coach that's always gone back to guys. He's never really given up on a single player that I can recall.
I'm just simply leaving it to I don't like replacing him with Mo Wagner. I don't think they need Wagner at all, and that's all it really comes down to.
It was more of I don't think they were like going into it like Teague for Wagner. I mean.
No, I know. I understand why they had to do it. I'm just saying it might come. It looks like it may come back to bite them because Teague is not just. He didn't just lose it all.
It's going to come back to bite them because of Fournier. I mean, this is the only reason we're talking about it is because Fournier's situation went the way it did. And again, another thing that happened to this team where it's just like, what the heck? Like, what can you say about that? Him coming in, testing positive once, then testing positive again the next week. And now it's just going to be a brutal trek finding points up and down this lineup. That's my thing. The bench doesn't have a bunch of scoring again. You look at the bench every given night, it's going to be 7, 5, 3. It's going to look a lot like it did earlier in the year. They're going to be struggling to get to 100.
Right.
Eventually, someone's going to pin the chat.
I was just looking. It's still not pinned. Yeah.
And then you guys can start to join.
Wow, Sherrod did have time to make a drink.
Yeah.
How many idiots does it take to pin the link to the chat?
Wow.
I'm only thinking about one, our good friend.
Damn, Jimmy.
I bet one of the commenters can get up there pretty quick.
Probably. But well, this is this reminds me of, Sherrod. This is like the Celtics locker room after a loss. You're just waiting outside to get in for an extra 20, 30 minutes while they have like their team meeting or whatever it is.
And viewers, you can imagine Jimmy's livid. Jimmy's pissed every single time.
Dude, some late nights. There would be some late nights waiting for these guys, man.
He's doing like the triple thing on his phone. He's like, well,
you guys have been stuck in that hallway. That hallway is not
be,
the hallway's not meant for 60 media members on a national televised game just waiting outside.
But you know what? When KG was here and we had to wait, and he finally spoke to us, gold.
Oh, it was always worth it.
Gold. The wait was worth it.
People waiting, yeah.
Yeah, but then I had to edit it out so I could air it on WEI and Celtics postgame show. Please.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear what KG had to say till after midnight. Well, after midnight, all edited, cleaned up.
Yeah.
You had to
there
clean
was
it up a little bit. He dropped a few F-bombs here and there.
A little bit every time, at least a couple swears, at least a couple.
It was always worth waiting for KG for sure.
It was.
There's
It was.
not that many.
I'm
trying to think. There's not that many quotes left right now like KG would give. Like not many players that worth waiting around super late for.
I'm glad you bring up KG because week in and week out we keep hearing they need KG. He needs to be on the sideline. He needs to be around this team. Would there be real benefits to that? And is that even possible? Like, is there any way for them to make that happen?
I don't think KG wants to hang out in. I think he's a LA, California living type. I don't think he wants to deal with Boston weather, maybe. But I mean, it's
not
getting
only
nicer
that,
now.
but like the day-to-day grind. Like, I don't know, it's a lot. Yeah,
he did it for Minnesota.
And how'd that work out?
Yeah, kind of.
That's my thing. Like, is it even gonna have any
that
effect?
was very short-lived. That was almost as short-lived as what was it, Studio 21 or whatever, his TV show.
I think KG's living, enjoying his post-playing career. But yeah, I mean, Area 21 was a blast.
Area 21,
I loved it.
That was awesome, man. I mean, I would have loved if he came
I
back
liked
to that,
it, but it was people. No one really. A lot of people were just. I don't know. They didn't give it enough. I mean, time.
hey,
I like when we
the Facebook thing. They put it on Facebook. I like that, but then
a guy like KG could really do wonders for any team. I mean, obviously the Celtics would have a leg up because of what he means and what the organization means to him, and vice versa. I mean, I would imagine that KG is well aware that the Celtics would welcome him if he wanted to be a part of anything like that. So I imagine it's a open offer, a standing offer, if you will.
But if you're KG, I mean, you deserve to just kick the heels back and do whatever the F you want to when you want to.
I didn't know he was capable of it, but
just like his teammate.
Took him a while.
Yeah. Hey.
There's that. There's that.
Yeah, I don't know if the same offer's there for Pierce. But
is he?
I'm not gonna rag on my guy P.
No,
he's still my guy.
Absolutely.
I still love P. That's my guy.
How can you not? How can you not? You absolutely have to. But just don't know if he'd have the same effect. Maybe
he's going through it.
Yeah.
He's living his best life, as they say.
Quarantine. Yeah.
Something like that.
That would did it. I think we would have seen this a year ago, maybe if
for sure.
Well,
now maybe he's got that vaccine.
You guys are nuts.
We are starting to migrating our way over. The room is open. Chat, I believe the link was put in there. So
okay.
Anyone wants to put it in again so everybody can see it right now would be great. And we're going to head over, Sherrod and I, over to locker room. Jimmy and Bobby and Josue are going to hang here a little bit longer. So Sherrod and I, like I said, we're going to migrate over to locker room. One more time, go to the iOS store, download the locker room app, join the chat with us, talk to us about the game, whatever else is on your mind. These guys will carry us through to the rest of it, and we will continue the conversation over there. So I'm going to take off. I'm going to leave it with you guys.
I'll see you, fellas.
Great. All right, sure. We'll see you in the locker room, bro. Dude,
here's the problem. What's on your mind tonight?
No, we used all of our topics up waiting for that link. So now I'm almost like I'm out of ammo.
We need to have Jimmy you should hit up with like 3 really good topics, just completely random. They don't even have to be Celtics related. We should wrap up every single show with Jimmy just throwing out some points and we have to respond to it.
That's what we'll do.
For sure.
That's what we'll do starting Friday. I'd really be shooting from the hip right now if I just started. That could get dangerous if I just started going off the top.
I think we'll take a few questions here in this chat since.
Yeah, let's get some people in here. We haven't seen any comments.
Yeah, toss a couple comment questions in. This is a.
I mean, we're probably not going to get everybody on locker room tonight. I mean, that's where we want you to go, but we'll take a few here before the locker room gets.
If you ask a question here and we don't answer it, go over to locker room.
Yeah, ask a question. You guys want to talk Paul? We can talk Paul.
Put it up there.
We'll do that. I don't think Sherrod wanted to talk Paul.
See if somebody goes, Jimmy, how are things going with the chicks? Well, I'm doing a lot of these shows, so that should tell you how it's going with the chicks. I'm on these shows a lot, including Friday nights, so they could be going better. We'll leave it at that. But I'll say that though.
Got to do.
This summer is going to be a lot different than last summer. Everyone's getting vaccinated. As they say, vaxxed and waxed, baby. Summer of 2021.
That's what they say?
People saying that?
I heard it somewhere. I saw it somewhere today. I
haven't heard that one until now.
Vaxxed and waxed.
This is what you got to do,
Go.
Jimmy. These games start at 7:30. You have a 2-hour window between 5:30 and let's say the games don't actually start till 7:45. So you got a window there, 2 hours and change.
For what?
So, to go out, see some people, do some things.
That means
you
know me when I'm watching the game, I'm taking notes. I'm locked into this game, but I can't be eyes over here and eyes over there. So
you completely zoned in, right? You got the notes going and everything.
I'm in the zone. We can get any questions, Bob?
Yeah, I'm pulling them up now. All right, let's see what we got. These aren't great questions. You guys gotta step it up.
Just toss one on.
Oh man, it's definitely the second night of a back-to-back. People are tied.
These are terrible questions. Come on.
Do C's cut ties with Kemba this summer? That's one I just read.
The one time we had a question segment.
Joe Sway,
I like that one.
Do C's cut ties with Kemba this summer? Joe Sway, your thoughts?
The C's cut ties with Kemba? I don't think so. I mean, that's a tough contract to trade. It really depends on how he does in the playoffs. Maybe, yeah. I think Danny's going to try really hard to. If we're being honest, I mean, he's going to try really hard.
John thinks he
tried last offseason. He'll try this one.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this too during our show in particular because we talk about what the Celtics need around Brown and Tatum to help them become better players and just to make the team around them better as well. And I want to is Kemba doing either of those things right now? And I think there's some changes Kemba could make to make it easier on Tatum and Brown and improve the teammates around them. But if Kemba is just trying to do his thing and not doing it at the best of his abilities, and he's eating up $30 million, like there's a case there for sure. Like I don't know what they would ultimately get back. I keep tossing around Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk because I just don't think you're going to get back that much for him. But
that's the issue.
I don't know.
That wouldn't be a bad deal, honestly, if you think about his true value. But again, we don't know what this postseason is going to look like. If it's anywhere near what we saw last year, I think that's a huge plus for the Celtics. If Kemba looks like what he did last year, I mean,
it's just very complicated because you have the health.
Averages,
you have the knee as one major factor, and then you have the money as the other major factor. A lot of people don't think Kemba Walker has a tradable contract, meaning in order to trade him, you're going to actually have to give up. Some people think you're going to actually have to give up more in order to get rid of that contract.
See, I don't think it's going to be a dump. I think he's shown enough to make. And I keep tossing around the Clippers.
You're not going to ever
get. The
Clippers
are the ones
talent.
to me.
Right. I mean, and it's tough because I love Kemba. I love watching him play. I love what he brings to the team, his leadership and his attitude. You want to talk about attitude like we've been talking on the show. I mean, he's got one of the better attitudes, around the NBA. And I think that, he definitely is a positive in every locker room. So I'm certainly not being like, do whatever you can to trade Kemba. But, if there's the other issue is this, if they want to re-sign Fournier, they have to do something, right? Because they're going to have so many guys under these big contracts, and there's going to be a salary cap, there's going to be a luxury tax. There's just going to be something that, if Fournier's staying, you almost have to think like who's going because it doesn't
they're
feel
crunched.
Right.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like they can keep it all. So anyways.
And I want to keep Fournier. I think he fits awesome with this team. He's a third, fourth piece definitively that makes guys run him better, can score off the catch. And this is killing. He's probably out for the regular season if he did test positive. And who knows if that's the case.
That's too much. No way, dude. The regular season is for another month plus.
Well, how long did Thompson and Romeo? You just don't know.
Those are extreme.
Yeah.
But those are extreme.
I mean, I was worried. I was worried from his original debut. After that, I was a little surprised that he came back so quickly. And then, here we go, a couple of games removed from that bounce back game. His second game as a Celtic.
Yeah, we really can't even begin to guess.
That's true.
But Bobby's thinking doomsday. I don't think that he's gone for the rest.
I always think doomsday when it comes to this COVID stuff.
I mean.
Unexpected.
Brad did say.
Brad
did say, by the way, don't expect to see him this week.
the rest of the week.
Take that for what you will.
Yeah, well, that's
George, we're gonna hit your question real quick here. I don't know if he means unexpected like team that's gonna make a run here or unexpected standout on this team. I guess we have to talk about Romeo, right? Because he started tonight. He's more involved than we imagined, and he's a defensive contributor, which is what they need right now. He's also a ball mover. We didn't talk about him a ton tonight because we started fighting about Tatum and Brown, but he moved the ball, made some mistakes here or there, but he kept it moving. He can dribble into the lane. He's not going to score, though, and that's a killer when you have a guy out there who's just a flat-out zero as a scorer. Marcus Smart's already kind of doing that, just like putting himself in position, but not really threatening as a scorer in the lane.
You know what? I'm going to go with Peyton Pritchard, and I think
that was my answer.
That's going to start ramping up, I think, a couple of weeks leading into the playoffs.
He's playing better.
And I don't know if Brad Stevens is trying to free up that outside shot because obviously he's trying to free up everyone's outside shot right now. I mean, that's the move right now. That's the goal. But I like seeing him with the ball in his hands more often. We're not seeing that as much the last couple of games, right? He's giving up that ball right at half court, or sometimes he's not even getting it there, So maybe that's a tactic for him to free up his shot. Obviously, he'll get open looks that way coming off the ball, or at least when he's not constantly facilitating. So maybe that is a tactic to get him more comfortable with the outside shot, because that's a huge part of his game that could really help this team in that postseason. Off the bench, they need that sort of punch alongside, someone like Evan Fournier, of course, someone who's capable of scoring 20 points. I mean, Pritchard has shown that. We've seen how easily he can get there with a limited amount of attempts because of his dynamic of being able to knock down that 3-point shot, attack the rim, and of course get to the free throw line.
I'm just going to say I think it would be unexpected if Kemba Walker had a really good playoff performance. So I'm going to say him because
that's a good one. What are we expecting from him?
Well, because he struggled last year in the playoffs, as everybody remembers. And we're not, some of that was, teams, the way they were playing him. And some of it was health. And I think he is. Listen, the one thing we'll say about Kemba Walker, it doesn't feel like health has been an issue for him. I know he's not playing back-to-backs, but when he's out there, do you guys sense that he's hurting or laboring or not, his old self? Because I don't really see that. I feel like he's healthy. So
a little bit.
You do? Okay. I feel like,
a little bit, but it's not concerning.
Yeah, and in the playoffs, you don't get those back-to-backs, so you don't have to worry about that. And I just feel like, he's got something to prove after a, less than stellar playoff performance and especially because you don't think he hears idiots like us talking about, is he a tradable contract? So he's got something to prove. He has a lot of pride, and I'm sure he wants to, show that he can still play at the top level. So that's
you know what, guys? We should I want to hear everyone's opinion on this. Everyone, seriously, and this isn't just like a promo thing because this is a really good conversation. Let's carry this to the locker room. We gotta wrap it. Yeah, let's get to the locker room map. I'm trying to do it casually here.
Oh, my bad. They're gonna do it.
Want to tease something you're gonna bring over to? I don't know if we'll be able to take the reins from John, but
yeah, try our best. You got Josue.
If we can get this topic obviously going in the message in the text switch things up. I like this conversation right now because there's a couple of options here, or at least a few options. Maybe you could even throw out a bold bold prediction like a taco or something. But give us some more underdogs. Who's stepping up here?
Yeah.
Or people do teams as well. Which team in the Eastern Conference could upset things from the bottom playoff tier? As opposed to instead of the Brooklyns and the Phillies and all them up top.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
We gotta go bigger picture a little bit. We'll, if we're the B team here, we'll take some questions once they jump over to the locker room every night, and we'll talk about some league topics and all that as well.
Definitely.
But we're heading over to the locker room
right now. Still, I like it.
Make sure there's 1,300 of you. I want to see at least 500 in that room here, and we're gonna take quite a few questions tonight in that locker room app. So go download that. Join the Celtics post game show overtime room. All you have to do is follow one of us, and you'll see us in there. So we will catch you over there, and we will see you on this stream on Friday night against the Timberwolves.